Thanks for your company. To our very first story, the Interior Minister Ambrose Derry has assured government is in control of the country's security and remains focused in fighting crime, contrary to the reactive measures adopted in combating crime by the previous administration. Mr. Derry, who described Tuesday's broad daylight robbery at North Industrial Area as unfortunate, says the police is on the heels of the perpetrators of the perpetrators of the act, with stating that the war on crime has not been lost. He spoke to Latif Idris.
I think it's very significant, our ex-servicemen who, first of all, made us proud in the world wars. Our soldiers were supposed to be among the best, and then subsequently, their contribution to our independence. This event was really very significant, and therefore we should pay them the respect every year and make sure that we set an example for all those who are dying for the country, that at the end of it all, we will not forget our heroes.
What do you make of the concern being raised by people within the country about the state of insecurity? It appears it's not going away.
Well, yes, it's regrettable, but if we put it in context, over the Christmas, we had a very successful deployment, and then the last 10 days, there appears to be an upsurge of a different kind of armed robbery, not because it's not armed robbery, but its targets are different. What we had in the beginning, when we set up, was armed robbery, highways and domestic homes and what have you. Now we've seen in the last 10 days, there's been an upsurge of, money joints. And then yesterday, there was that daytime activity. So clearly, we've lost control at all. What we're doing is making sure that we follow the leads. The police are following the leads. You realize that with the other robberies, we've got 7 suspects, and yesterday's one we've got 2 that we are working on. To put things in context, you see, some people were wondering why we're not confronted yesterday in traffic. You want to have a successful operation without loss of innocent lives. Moving forward, as Mr. President has made it clear, part of the retooling that we are doing for the police would include helicopters. If we had that yesterday, it just flies over and gives us control. But some people thought, why don't you confront them right in the traffic? If you did that, and you hit one innocent person dead, then you got it messed up. So now we've got 2 people who are leading the investigation, assessing the investigation, but certainly it's regrettable that that thing has happened. But we continue to make the point that is a cumulative neglect which we are rectifying now. As I talk to you now, the President's promise is not empty at all. We are trying to procure, and some of these things probably we should advise us.
Including helicopters, you say?
Yes, yes.
Wow,
the President.
How soon will that happen?
Now, that's what I'm saying, that we're commencing procurement. Maybe these things should advise the kind of procurement we should do.
Well, while we wait to experience these latest assurances that are coming in, some residents living at the North Industrial Area are calling for more police patrols hours after armed men stormed an automobile company there to rob. The residents say although there are many companies operating in the area, they rarely see the police there. They say the security system put in place by the companies is not enough to ward off criminals. Mark Solak visited the area and now reports.
It is some hours after armed robbers stormed the royal motorcycle to rob some properties here. We've been speaking to some of the residents who've been narrating to us exactly what happened. One of them I spoke to says 2 police officers tried quelling the attack, but they had to retreat because the armed robbers continued firing at them. The workers here will not speak to us. They say they've been told not to divulge any information to the press. Right now, there are no police officers around as the workers in this industrial area are going about their normal duties. But some of the residents we've been speaking to are calling for more patrols in this area because they say it's an enclave of businesses.
And it's just like the whole scenario went like a Hollywood film, you know.
It's a film.
And the police were coming from the bank because they guard the bank here. So they jumped into our factory and they heard that as the shooting, so they were coming to cross the car. So the car was coming like this. And as they saw the police, they stopped. So the police fired on them, but the police is alone. The other one is not having a gun. So as he fired, the thing went through the car and hit another car. But seeing things, the policeman said that they are more than him. He has to run to our factory and seek refuge in the bush here. And they all ran into the factory here. So
the police officers?
The police officers, because what they can do is what they have tried their best, but
were they holding guns?
One was holding gun. He was able to shoot one into the car, but I think the people are more than him. So as the people wield their gun, they say, no, I have to run for my life. They need to put the camera for surveillance, as the advanced country used to do when you go to South Africa, Dubai, everywhere in the world. Now we are in a world whereby crime is growing because of hardship of the youth. And then the government too can get cameras for surveillance around and see how people operate, because this is industrial area. We have a lot of foreigners here who sleeps in kiosks and all those things. We don't know where they get their informations, and I don't know what they are doing, and they have to look for all those loopholes and put things in shape. I think that will help the country.
Oh, okay. Actually, I don't think the same. I think the guys doing it have taken advantage of maybe the government specializing on other things, and they think they've left the security system open so they can make a use of it. That is what I think. So maybe the guys are very strategic. They know where to stand, and we just came out of Christmas, and everybody has gathered its words. So they aim at those people and kind of want to break on them. So I don't think it's a government issue. It's just that they are strategic, and so the security system have to be more strategic, and they should go along. The patrol team should be going along, and.
Still on insecurity and how to address the challenge, quote, until we understand the demographic changes in our society and design strategies in line with these changes, we'll continue to see worse and more daring armed robbery cases. That's according to security expert Dr. Kofi Addo, who explains that an intelligent and pervasive type of policing is what is needed to deal with the increasing spate of crime in the country. He was speaking on Joy News' current affairs program, PM Express, and he hinted that there's been a 45% increase in crimes within the space of 1 year.
We are seeing almost a 45% growth in the 5 major crimes in Accra within the space of a year. Okay? Now, a disaggregation of these crimes and our abilities to respond to them in terms of using the prosecutorial service even paints a much more damning picture. That if you look, less than 5% of all crimes in this country are solved. 82% of the crimes in this country are still, in inverted commas, being investigated. So if we take, for example, the first quarter of 2017, there were almost 18,000 incidences in Accra alone. Out of these 18,000, almost 6,400 were recorded in January. 7.5% were sent to court. 2% were convicted, so terribly low conviction rates. 0.11 acquitted, 5.37 still awaiting trial, 11% undetected, and 82% still under investigation. If we go back to 17 years ago, the number of cases that are being investigated has consistently remained around 65% to 80%. So we have a backlog of cases that are unsolved, and it creates this impression that your ability to commit crime and escape and be free is pretty high. And it's not going to change. Well, let me repeat this point that I've consistently made. If we don't understand the demographic changes and how these demographic changes and increases leads to increasingly unplanned urban spaces, in which we don't factor how best to police and regulate crimes, then we are going to see considerably much worse occurrences, more daring occurrences. Now, you and I have had this conversation here on several occasions. 2.3 unregistered guns in civilian hands. The materials are available. We did it together with the Ghana National Small Arms Commission. But there's no seriousness around these issues. The criminals understand this, they know this, and they're bringing the fight to us, just like Paul said. So every sophisticated criminal knows that, as Paul is saying, without audits and surveys, the possibility that I'll be arrested is almost non-existent. So then we need to ask ourselves some very tough questions.
You're watching Joy News today. When we come back, we'll be taking some figures as to what is really happening on the ground in terms of insecurity. Do stay. Thanks for staying here on Joy News today. Now, the increase in spate of robbery cases is becoming alarming and a cause for concern for the public. Joy News has information the cases recorded in Accra this year has seen an increase. If really that is the situation, we are equally worried. So how exactly do the figures look like? My colleague Raymond Aqua joins me with some details. Raymond, so what are the figures telling us?
So let's actually look at what we have for as of January 2018. And the figures from the Kofi Addo International Peacekeeping Training Center indicates that in January 2018, 89 cases of robbery have been recorded so far. We can break it down. I'll tell you the car robbery, the residential ones, the ones that happen at the workplace. I'll tell you about the street robberies later on. But let's just do a quick comparison with what happened back then in January 2017. Okay. It was 51. Okay. Then in February 2017, it was also 51. We're not done with February, so that's why we don't have the figures for February completed yet. In March 2017, it was 56. All of this put together is actually showing that year on year, for January 2017 compared to January 2018, there's been this increase, 51 to 89. Okay. This is over 38 more robberies happening within the period of 1 year, within a single month. That's January for 2017 and 2018. Let's break them down.
That's a total of all the listed crimes we have there.
So let me tell you where we've seen the direct increases in all of the places that we had it previously. For car robbery, for example, last year in January, it was only 2. In January this year, it was 10. Okay,
just a quick one. Car robbery, the people stealing other people's cars.
Yes. Okay. So the cars, people were in the cars, and sometimes took it from them. Okay. So it's not only the case that it's not happening in the absence of the people. Okay. These are people whose cars were taken from them when they're still with the cars. Now, secondly, the residential robberies, they came to your home and actually robbed your home. It was 26 in January last year, that's 2017. But this year in January, it was 31. Now, only 2 of the robberies happened at work, when the people were still at work. But we have up to 5 happening in January this year. Those who are on their way on the streets or somewhere outside of the workplace or outside of the home, street robberies were 21 in January 2017. We counted as far as 43 for January 2018.
That's more than double the number.
Yes. When you put that together, we are getting 51 for just January, what they call 2017, and January 2018. These numbers would actually make more sense if you put the first quarter together. 51 for January, 51 for February, and 56 for March 2017. All of which actually goes up to 158. Now, let me take you back to what happened in the year 2012. In the year 2012, there were 64 of the robberies that happened within the first 3 months compared to the 150 that happened in 2017. Okay. Indeed, in 2013, there were 81 of them. And this 81 for 3 months in the year 2013 is still lower than what we had in just last month. That's 89. And when you push it back to what they call it, 2014, there were 34 robberies in the first quarter. That's the first 3 months. And that 34 is far lower than what we've had since January, February, and March of 2017. And this year, in fact, it is less than 1/3 the number that we have in this particular case. So that's how different that's supposed to be. In fact, for 2015, the first quarter figure is 53. That 53 is still lower than what we have for the first quarter of 2017 and also for just the first month of 2018. So that's how serious the situation is as it looks now.
Clearly an indication that there's been a certain rise. Do we know, are experts telling us what could be leading to this rise?
So there are several reasons they are pulling out to it. And first and foremost, they talk about, one, population densities and management of same. Two, unemployment is also being talked about. And spatial development in the country is also being the case. Now, another issue that also comes up consistently is how the police have dealt with the cases in times past and the strategies for dealing with it. Questioning, for example, has mentioned that we need to change the strategy so that it's not consistently the case that we do not have the best of intelligence on the ground. Indeed, we also know that other increasingly technology-oriented factors are also contributing to the kind of crimes you are seeing in the capital alone. And this is in the capital alone, not in Tema, not in the other major cities across the country, and not nationwide.
And is there any other thing we need to know with regards to these numbers and how they are being interpreted?
Okay, so what this would actually mean to any security person is how do we not only curb but reverse these figures? So why is it that between 2003 and 2010, we actually reduced the numbers with a weekly average of 50 robberies per week down to 12 robberies or in some cases 15 robberies per week? How is it that we are having a return to the more than 15 robberies per week situation? That is how any security-oriented person will be looking at these figures. Indeed, as I've said, between 2002 and 2010, the figures were way higher than these ones. But it looks like we are reversing to the times where we still had very high number of robberies on the ground with increasing number of police. Of course, we know that we've increased the police per population ratio. We also increased the kind of facilities that the police are supposed to have.
So it's surprising.
This is supposed to actually affect the figures. As we see, it's not affecting it as well as supposed to affect it.
Thank you very much, Raymond, for the details there. We clearly will be staying on the issue of insecurity here on the Joy News channel. We'll be bringing you more updates to find solutions to this problem that's affecting many of us in the country. Now, a veteran of World War II is calling on government to pay attention to the plight of his colleague ex-servicemen who fought alongside British troops in Burma. On 28 February 1948, 3 of his colleagues were killed whilst they were on their way to present a petition to the colonial government to demand benefits promised them after the war. Maxwell Baba caught up with a 90-year-old who witnessed the incident and our reports.
Sounds from the trumpet of some military men at the Osu Military Cemetery. It is the day the only daughter of Queen Elizabeth, Princess Anne, visited Ghana. A wreath-laying ceremony is underway to honor some soldiers who died in the First and Second World Wars. Ex-Private Ashite Hammond walks into the cemetery with his agbada and beret. On his left chest are 4 badges of honor for his service in the military. We walk side by side very close to the tombstones at the cemetery. His smirk sums up his unforgettable experience of fighting in the Second World War.
I was so young.
How old were you?
I was then 16 years.
Tell me, when you were in the plane going and then when
Not
you landed?
in the ship.
Oh, you went by. How many days did it take you then?
We started from Takrady,
Yeah.
HMS Acacia. Very huge ship. We were almost 2,000 troops on board. For 1943.
Yeah.
We moved. We spent about a couple of days, then we arrived at Sierra Leone. So actually we came with 1 ship, but we left Sierra Leone with 21 ships. Others came, we didn't know actually where they came from.
Yeah.
So it was an armada. We all traveled together with the convoy. And we had 2 destroyers on the right, cruiser at the left, on the right. The same on the left. And intermittently, ongoing, 12 Hurricane fighters used to fly over our heads, protecting the convoy. And then normally, the ships will blow, and then we change direction. So we asked the officer, why is it that we are going zigzag direction? They said the German submarines, they are faster. And if we don't change zigzag course, they will torpedo all our ships.
His is a story about patriotism and dedication to his nation. At age 16, he was enlisted into the military. He served diligently, and at age 90, he's still fit. He's calling on President Kofi Addo to support the Veterans Administration of Ghana. It is another day, and I have visited Mr. Ashitai Hammond in his home. The badges of honor have been gently affixed to a different shirt he's wearing. The 90-year-old retired soldier takes pride in letting the world know that he fought in World War II. Ex-Private Ashitai says he was shocked when the gun was fired on the orders of one Superintendent Imri during the 28 February Crossroads shootings.
You know, the moment he shot Kofi Addo, we were surprised. Sajadete, being our leader at the front with our petition, he was extremely annoyed, so he moved forward. Might be to grab him with a gun or something, then he shot him too. Honestly speaking, the way where I was standing, if that bullet missed Sajadete, I would have been the victim. But I saw the way he pointed the gun, but it touched Sajadete. He fell. So before my eyes, I saw all my colleagues, they fell dead. So there was pandemonium, there was confusion, total confusion, because we never expected such a thing. So few of our men, let's say 20, few of our men, let's say 20% went to township, but 80%, all of us went to Accra, post office. And during those days, you know, post office, they had a roundabout in front of the post office. Yeah. So we all converged at that place. Whenever we see any white man with a car coming, we won't kill him. We will draw him and throw him off, turn the car upside down, and then put fire inside. The petrol plate, put much, then we started, there was burning. So the population of Gokos, when they heard that they have killed the ex-soldiers, Burma people, the people that went to fight for the British Empire and the Gokos, instead of compensating them, you kill them, the population, they were so annoyed. Wow. So they also started looting European stores.
A proud warrior living to tell the stories of the fallen. For Joy News, Maxwell Agbagba.
Well, Joy News' Lateef Idris has been covering this year's commemoration of the 28th February Crossroads shooting, which was graced by Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Let's give you a sense of what happened today as events panned out.
We can please the Almighty God to take the souls of the veterans out of our midst to heaven.
So some of the veterans there in your shot, but Lateef Idris joins us on phone with some details. Lateef, we know the Vice President has been speaking. What exactly has he been saying?
Well, Ben, the Vice President did not speak at this year's 28th February Christmas Crossroads shooting incident anniversary. What happened today was the wreath-laying ceremony by the Vice President, who did that on behalf of the Ghanaian people. So the Vice President laid the wreath on behalf of the Ghanaian people. There were other personalities who also laid wreaths. We had the Osumanche laying it on the people of Accra and the national capital. There was the CDS who also laid the wreath on behalf of the servicemen. But with your question about what the Vice President said at this year's anniversary, that did not happen. The Vice President this time around didn't make any comment.
All right. So what else happened that is worth mentioning, Lateef?
Yeah, what happened was it happened last year and it happened this year as well, was the reenactment of the Crossroads shooting incident by the Ghana Actors Guild. Last year, the president was there, he witnessed it, and this year, we had the vice president witnessing the reenactment of the Crossroads shooting incident, Bernice.
Thank you very much for the details, Latif Idris there. Away from that, Speaker of Parliament, Professor Michael Quay, has charged the Minister of Gender, Social Protection, Otiko Afisa-Jabba, to keep a close eye on the case involving a 16-year-old boy who's accused of defiling a 6-year-old girl at Asin Adadientem in the Central Region. Professor Okoye says Parliament will not want to hear any news of a truncation of the case due to a desire by relatives of the victim to have the matter dealt with outside the courts. Gender Minister Otiko Jabba has been responding to the concerns on the floor this morning. Joseph Akablay is in Parliament and joins us on the line. Joseph, what was the Gender Minister's response to this?
Well, so for the Gender Minister, I mean, she first briefed the House on the state of the lady involved, the girl involved. She assured the House that the lady is in good condition. She has since received treatment from various medical facilities in parts of the Central Region and was subsequently relocated from her home. It's an accommodation provided through the help of the MP for the area, and she is now in good condition. With regards to that concerned by the Speaker of Parliament, she nodded in agreement and did inform the House that as and when she has any updates on that, she will report to the House. She was actually handed 2 weeks on the matter. She told the House that just tomorrow, which is March 1, the matter will be returning to the juvenile court in the Central Region, so she'll be keeping a close eye on it to ensure that the matter is dealt with in court as the House expects of it to be dealt with.
So what really necessitated the Gender Minister coming on the floor to respond to these issues?
It was a question that was filed by a member of Parliament who is a member of the Gender Committee. She is Ms. Ladi Ayamba. She is the Minister, the MP, I must say, for Pusiga. And her question was to ask the Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection whether she is aware of the rape of the girl at Asin Adadientem, and if so, what support has been given for medical treatment. So it was an urgent question that required the Minister to appear in Parliament to give some answers on the matter. So that was the reason why she appeared before Parliament today.
And Joseph, what else has been happening on the floor today?
The big one we've been talking about for days has to do with the airlines seeking to regulate admission into the Ghana School of Law. You recall yesterday we did break the news that we had picked up indications that the Subsidiary Legislation Committee will be recommending that the plenary approves the report, and what the airline is seeking to do is has taken away the bit about interviews, so it allows examination to take place. Just an hour ago, we expected a report to be laid by Chairman of the Subsidiary Legislation Committee, Mahama Yariga, but the House was informed that they were fine-tuning the report. So the House adjourned on a 1-hour break to enable that be done. Just as I was speaking to you now, a short while ago, the bell was rung, which has indicated that that hour is over. So we're expecting the members of Parliament to come in. The questions remain as to whether this time around the information that we have that, the government has assured that some 2 new bills will be put before Parliament to change legal education, to make some reforms as to whether that information will be sufficient for the minority members of Parliament and other majority members who have received various petitions and are part of a class action intended to block this particular ally from coming into force. We are hearing that today be a showdown. We expect debate from those who are for and against the ally to be made on the floor of Parliament today, Bernice.
Thank you for the details, Joseph Akablay there. Stay on the beat for us. We'll join you later in subsequent bulletins for more details. We'll take a quick breather now. When we come back, we'll bring you business news to stay.